We are live right now, Severna Builds. I'm really glad you could join us tonight for this live stream this morning, this midday, wherever in the world you are, right? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. We're just happy to be here. This is kind of like a new series I'm doing. Every time I release a new video, I'll be hosting a companion live stream so that we can dig, a little deeper and answer some of your questions and share some of those behind the scenes. I think I was calling it BTS, right? Some of those behind the scenes kind of situations, takes, the experience, the overall experience. With each video, we learn more, but as we learn more, we make a lot of mistakes too. And, sometimes I feel that that's the only way to learn. So I want to share those with you as well. I hope this is not just going to be me talking, right? I hope this is you feel like it's more like a workshop space type of thing, a safe place where you can ask anything and beginner stuff, even the things that you might think that they're kind of silly. I've made plenty of mistakes myself. I'm still learning a lot of things, and I'm silly enough to document them and put them on camera. I'm happy to share with you as much as I can and save you the trouble of repeating, the same mistakes I have made. Before we jump into the questions, I want to introduce someone very special who is joining me tonight. You'll know me as the one usually behind the laser, but tonight I got my partner in crime, my wife. You'll hear me calling her Mrs. Builds, Mrs. Claus. I'm Santa Claus. She played a fantastic role this week, and she has graciously accepted to join us tonight. Mrs. Builds, how are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be joining and be here. Thank you very much, Mr. Builds.
Thank you for being here. Listen, she played a fantastic role this week, and it was her steady hand and those creative eyes that made this painting possible, this engravings possible. It was a lot of trial and error, testing our patience, but at the same time, it was great to work with her. She's going to help us navigate through the questions and keep me on track. I tend to go on long stories, and she's going to try to kind of keep me honest and go in one direction here and not 200 directions. Don't be shy. If you have any questions for her, make sure you throw them into the chat. Right. This week's video was a lot of fun. We've been planning this video for some time. We finally decided let's just give it a try. And normally we spray paint, but we decided to do it by hand this time around. It's a completely different process. Like I said, very testing, a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes. Boy, I made a lot of mistakes this time around. But again, it was great working with Mrs. Builds. Just grab a seat, grab a refreshment, jump in the chat, and let's talk about painting, engraving, lasers, and everything in between. Mr. Bills, Mrs. Bills, rather, I would like to start with a question for you. Normally, you're behind the camera, right? You're helping produce these videos. You're helping out with a lot of this stuff. This time, you were in front and center painting, right? Tell me, how was that overall experience for you?
The overall experience, it was great, I have to say. I was a little worried at the beginning, but I believe we were working very nicely together. And yeah, it took a little while, but I believe the final product came out very nicely. So I'm very happy.
I tell you, yeah, it was an interesting week for sure, though. But anyway, Mrs. Bills, I'm ready. Whatever questions you want to send my way, we can talk about it and have a good time.
Yeah, okay. So let's start with the first question that we have here. Why hand painting instead of spray? You can tell us. Why have we decided for that?
For us, it was a kind of like the only option. Mrs. Bills has been asking to do some engravings. She's seen some of the great work, right, that comes out of the laser. I'm gonna go back here just a little bit. I've been doing laser engravings now of canvases for about 7 months, and as I've shared on Facebook, once I started, I just couldn't stop, and I've been doing a lot of different engravings, black and white colors, on canvas panels, and MDF and plywood and all this stuff. The base of the work I do is done through starting by spray painting. So I got a little Wagner little paint station. that's been the workhorse of this operation, and that has worked great. I got a garage. I opened the door. I got that paint station, right? And it works fantastically. Mrs. Bills, like I said, wanted to help, but we have a very happy health condition right now that prevents her from spray painting. We decided, listen, why don't we just try doing it by hand, right? And that way we can help out other people by answering the question of whether or not this is even doable. So on the right of the screen here, you got the spray canvas. It was a tiger. And on the left is the one that I did by hand, black and white, because we wanted to start easy. Why tigers or big cats? Well, tigers, for some reason, big cats show up in this process of engraving pictures. By the first or second or third, almost everyone does a big cat, you know? And I did it myself. So I thought, as we go through this process, Mrs. Builds was going to pick the picture, and sure enough, she picked a big cat. So that's the big cat you have here on the left. So her first engraving ever was of a big cat. So that was an interesting test. I don't know if you guys have done much of this engravings. I think one of the questions here that we posted to you is whether or not you've tried this. Many people have told me the last few days as I posted the video, they were not aware that this was even possible with a laser engraver. But the question of spray painting is a question that I've received a few times. And the reason why we wanted to test it out was again because of health issues. And we thought some people have some, different living arrangements. They don't have a garage, or their flats or apartments or houses don't have the space. There's no proper ventilation. That's another big one. Your HOA, right? Your homeowners association sometimes might be knocking at your door if they smell something funky. Of course, the concern of working with flammables and chemicals. So there are many reasons why you probably might want to try doing it by hand rather than spray painting. So our reasons were a happy one, but through our discoveries, I hope that we can help other folks with other kind of challenges. So yeah, that was the reason.
What kind of paint works best?
All right. What kind of paint works best? When I do spray painting, I tend to use acrylic. It's not that I was making a smart choice. I'll use this because of that or the other. It was what I had available in the garage, and it has worked very well. Acrylic paint is water based. If you go into the chemistry of it all, some people might say no, it's not technically water based, but it is. The one that I'm using is water based, and the one that we purchased to do it by hand is water based. So water-based acrylic paint is our to-go kind of, or rather go-to paint, because being water-based is easy to clean. You just need some warm water and soap, and off you go. As long as it hasn't dried, it works very well. It is very flexible. Once it dries, it's basically waterproof. So there are no odors, weird smells. Again, we're talking about the acrylic paint tubes here that you see here on the screen, right? There's nothing really stinky to deal with. There's no like chemicals that you can smell anyway. And as I said, you can clean it easily out of your hands, out of your tools, just a little bit of soap and water. It basically sticks to pretty much anything. So it will work on pretty much anything. So that's what I recommend. The brand that you see there is a local brand. We went for a bunch of colors, a bunch of tools, and we ended up using probably, a quarter of everything that we purchased. But, acrylic paint is my go to. Wow, my throat.
So, next question for now is, do brush strokes affect engraving?
Brush strokes, right? So we started with a brush. And as we got the first couple of strokes done, we noticed that there were lines on the canvas. You can see there on the screen, the white was the first coat we applied, and that one we applied with a brush. And not only the strike, the lines were there, the grooves were there, very visible, but also it was taking us forever. So I ran to the garage and I picked up a roller. So the thing is that once we applied the last coat, even with the roller, you could still see the texture. That's the black picture there in the middle. And as you get out of the engraving, I think this was the first pass, that tiger there, you can see the lines and you will see the texture. So they do affect the engraving. And the main thing by doing it by hand is that it's hard to keep an even coat, an even surface. So with every brush or roll that you apply this paint, you're not really controlling the surface, the amount of paint that is going. So that creates, of course, that roughness, that texture, and of course, it makes the laser work unevenly, right? So it doesn't really engrave evenly. The canvases, you can see the bumps, the lines, and of course, the engraving will be spotty. But there's some people that like that. To be honest with you, it has this kind of unique look to it. It's pretty rough. I don't know if I'll be able to show it on the screen, but this is the MDF. Come on, camera, focus. This is the MDF. And I don't know if you can see what I mean there with the bumps and the roughness of it all, right? So that's the MDF. I have the final cat here done on canvas. I don't know if you can see the texture there. That looks pretty good. I don't know what you guys think, but that looks really good. So yes, you can't run away from that texture. All right.
All right. Next question. If you can tell us more about layers and drying time.
We followed the usual approach that I take to regular canvases when I'm spray painting, right? So we did on the canvas, we did 2 coats of white, 1 coat of gray, and 1 coat of black, right? That's the standard. I use it all the time. Again, we were doing black and white pictures. If I was making a color picture, I would use a different set of colors. But 2 coats of white, 1 coat of gray, and 1 coat of black. Now, you can argue with me about whether or not the gray coat is needed. I like it. It gives it this kind of cool look to it. So I'm sticking with that. That was for the canvas. For the MDF, we did 1 coat of primer, which I cheated a little bit because I applied it, I spray paint, and this was a side experiment. So that's why I was kind of like, okay, we'll do it with the primer, spray primer. I didn't have roll-on primer, so spray was what I had handy. So that was 1 coat of primer, 3 coats of white, because we were hesitating rather, as to if it was going to be enough. By the second coat, we could still see the texture. We could still see a little bit of the gray primer. Maybe we should have gone with a white primer next time, right? So 1 coat of primer, 3 coats of white, 1 coat of gray, and 1 coat of black. Now, the drying time was a bit of a kind of gamble because, supposedly it should be dry to the touch within 60 minutes. But that was not the case. We kept checking and it was just not the case. Now, the drying time, of course, will vary depending on humidity, temperature, the thickness of the layers that you apply, right? So those 30, 60 minutes that is supposed to take to dry, yeah, I don't know. So arm yourself with a lot of patience. Now, one thing, that paint needs 3 to 4 days to cure. That's the drawback. One of the cons of using this manual approach, because it will take 3 to 4 days to dry and cure. I waited basically maybe one day after we were done, and maybe the quality of my engravings would have been much better if I would have waited the 3 days for it to cure. So 3 to 4 days for this paint to cure. The spray paint is usually 24 hours. 3 to 4 days to cure for this tube acrylic paints that we were using with the hand approach. Now, I do recommend to do a top coat, lacquer, whatever you got, because these things will remain I mean, it's dry, but you can feel like something is going on, something is sticking to your hands. So I would recommend after, completely cures, 3, 4 days, you do your engraving, apply a top coat mainly so that it protects it. Because I can tell you right now, I can scratch this and remove the paint. How do I know? Because I made the mistake of stacking them like this and they glued together. And when I removed it, it was on this guy. This was the test, my test grid. I was all over the place with the power and with the speed. So on top of that, I put all the canvases on top of it, and the paint start to get removed. You see, I have some residue now on my hands. So top coat it is, and also mind the temperature. It's pretty hot here in this part of Europe right now, and some of this manufacturers they say, hey, don't do anything below 10 Celsius or above 25 Celsius. So mind that, of course. Do you want to take a look and see what we have in the chat, just to see? Good evening, good morning. Yes, hello everyone. Hello, Paul. Let's Seb, good to have you here. For the two images on the screen, do you use the same power and speed on both? No, no, no. So the hold on, boy. This one was done. This was my second engraving. Maybe some of you guys recognize it. This was my second engraving. This was done 7 months ago, and of course it was a big cat. That one was done by hand, well, rather spray paint. And for that, I used my normal approach. 2 passes. The first one, 10 power, 200 speed. I'm pretty conservative when it comes to that. And then I think I was doing 160 LPC. Now, LPC is to your liking. The quality of the picture will increase. You'll have a lot of lines there, right? And therefore, you'll be waiting there for a while. Some of this engravings take 1 hour, on average, 1 hour, an hour and 10 minutes. And then you got to do a second pass. And my second pass normally 8 power, 250 speed. I keep the same LPC. But yeah, no, they were different. There were different settings. I think we have the settings questions coming up here, so we'll answer that here pretty soon. Also, do you use the same color sequence? Yes, yeah. I use the same color sequence. Two white, one gray, one white for the black and white. And for this guy was the first color one I did. This was spray paint, right? And for that guy, I vary and I put brown instead of gray, just to get that brownish color. I didn't know what I was gonna get, and I had this nice light brown color, and I did one coat, so 2 coats of white, 1 coat of brown, and 1 coat of black, and I was super nervous. And this guy came out, and I was like, "This is just incredible. This is just incredible." Have you Okay, let me see. Have you tried airbrush application? It's good for even applications. Yeah, someone mentioned that to me today. If I try that, and there were a couple of tips on different ways of painting, but no. What I did here is the airbrush. Basically no chemicals. You just need to kind of change your setup a little bit, but it's supposed to be very smooth. There was a gentleman showing me, if you follow me in some of those groups for X Tools group, there was a gentleman there that posted an engraving. I think it was a Volkswagen, one of them campers or vans. Amazing. And I understand that he did it with the airbrush. How to gauge the thickness of the layer? Trial and error, friend. And error. We felt like on the MDF, it's more of an issue because on the white canvas, being that the canvas was white, the first 2 layers of white, we kind of were guessing. We were just we couldn't really see the back because it's white also. But on the MDF, we noticed that the 2 coats, they were pretty thin. So on the third coat, we kind of went to town on that one. But yeah, so it's just trial and error, you know. Let's go back to the next question, right? So layers and drying time, we got that one.
Yes. Next question is if engraving settings do change?
Yes. So I was hesitant to share my settings because there was a lot of work in trying to get the right settings. Again, I use 10, 200, and 160 or 140 LPC all the time, right? And you can see there in my picture, test, test, test. And those were my notes because I made this grid, the one in the middle. I use XCS material, what is it? The array, the material test array. And what I do is I normally just make a small version of the larger picture that I'm going to engrave, and I just kind of set it up in the array. It was all great, but I completely forgot to invert the picture. One of the crucial steps if we're going from white to black as the last layer. So you need to invert that picture. I'm a seasoned engraver. I completely forgot to do that. So as it ran by the third one, I think it was the third square there on the grid, I realized my mistake. I went back, redid it, and I was all over the place. I don't know if you can read my handwriting, but of course I started with 200, and then I was doing 15, then I was doing 130 for speed. I was all over the place. I think I ended up doing 25. I'll find it here in my notes, but I'll share with you. So it I added it to the video. So it's towards the end of the video there for those of you guys patient enough to stick around and watch the entire video. The settings are there in the video that we uploaded yesterday. It does require a lot of testing, but I can tell you start with low power and fast speed. You can't go wrong with that. But you have to know your machine. I mean, one of the questions we have towards the end is this an easy beginner kind of test? I tell you, you gotta really know your machine, I think. So, and again, the LPC is just a matter of taste, right? It depends how much you want to wait there in front of the machine. For my 40 watt, like I said, through test and test and test. For the canvas, I use power 25, speed 135, and the LPC, I think I did 160. That was the first pass. And then for the second pass, I did 10 power and 200 speed. No, 250 speed, sorry, and 160 LPC. So, yeah, I mean, I tell you, well, I kept making mistakes too, and that's the problem with working so late. And yeah, just kept making mistakes. That's my test grid. Like I said, I was all over the place. Once I started getting into the loo, I was trying to use as much real estate as I could. So I was trying to get smaller and smaller. Those first ones were the ones that I screwed up. You can see that clearly. And this guy here at the bottom, I use a wipe to wipe my engravings to remove that soot at the end when I'm done. I waited like an hour after I was done with this one, and I went ahead and used those wipes, and the paint came right off. So I stopped immediately. So, yes, engraving settings had to be changed and adjusted to your paint, to your engraving, to the material you're using. Yeah, it's just a lot to keep in mind. To your laser, actually. So, huge, huge amount of trial and error and testing.
If you can share any of our challenges and solutions.
Challenges and solutions. I can tell you about the challenges. There were so many of them. You know what it's like. You got your 9 to 5, 9 to 5:30. You got the family, you got kids, you got to do stuff, you got to go to the store, you got to do a lot of different things. So time is a huge challenge when working using this methodology, this approach. Time to find time to do it. And on top of that, if you mix in that curing time, right? 3 to 4 days for curing time, it's just crazy. Another challenge is the quality of paint. We did not know anything about this paint. We just bought it in our local big box. You can find them all over the place. They're not, difficult to find. The layering, the thickness, right? It can also get messy. It's a very inconsistent engraving. It's a very inconsistent approach overall. The first time around, I mean, I'm sure if we write things down and we do it a couple of times, it's going to be easier, but you still got to deal with the time, the paint, and so on and so forth. And the material, of course, that price can add up pretty quickly. The canvas, the roller, in our case, we thought we were going to use the brushes. we're going to use some of the other tools, it can add up pretty quickly. So yeah, those are the challenges. The solutions, well, you got to arm yourself with enough patience and just make time, trial and error, buy different brands of paint if you want. Try the brush approach if you want to. It takes a little longer. Buy good quality materials and just go for it. Keep trying. You'll get it right. I feel like you'll get it right. Anyway, just a matter of time. What else do we have?
What about pros and cons? Hand versus spray paint.
Well, the okay, let's start with the pros of the spray. The preparation is very quick. And what I mean by that is you cry once. You get this Wagner uh, spray booth. I don't know what they call it. You set it up. You get your little lazy Susan in place, and then you start spray painting. The prep is quick. It's very repeatable. I've done 5 or 6 canvases back to back. The preparation, place it, spray, place it, spray, and off you go. You keep going. It's very repeatable. It dries at the same time pretty consistently, 3 hours max. Depend. I mean, read the can, but the stuff I buy, 3 hours. You go in, it's dry, not a problem. The surface is pretty even. That picture doesn't show it, but the surface is just very smooth, very even. And the cleanup, if you have this paint booth, I've seen people put in plastic. I've seen people doing all sorts of stuff, going outside, whatever. I have this spray paint booth from Wagner. It's a small one. They sell 2 of them. I got the big one. I've never unwrapped or unboxed the big one because the small one has worked great. And yeah, so you go to town. There's absolutely no issue. Now, the cons, because you got to have cons too. You're dealing with chemicals. You're dealing with chemicals. It spreads pretty easily, right? So you're breathing it. You got to wear a mask. You got to have proper ventilation. I open the garage door when I'm doing this stuff. That paint station, like I said, works great, or take it outside, right? Keep in mind the paint, the dust is going to go all over the place. So that's a con. I don't know. It can add up pretty quickly too, price wise. I mean, one can of paint where I'm at is 9 to 12 euros. So that's one can of paint. The white one goes pretty quick. It's 2 layers all the time. But yeah, it adds up pretty quickly. And then the recycling. Where we live, you gotta go to a special place on a special date because it's not just a matter of throwing it in the garbage and getting rid of that. So I collect a bunch of them, and then we take them to the recycling place. Now the hand approach, the pros. The setup is pretty minimum. Miss Builds had the fantastic idea of covering the table with a cardboard that we had, just not to make too much of a mess. There's no need for ventilation, of course. You don't have to wear a mask, nothing fancy. That acrylic cleans pretty quickly as long as it's not dry yet. A little bit of soap, a little bit of water, off you go. It's easy to dispose, right? The tube is plastic. Once it's emptied out, it's plastic. And from what I was reading, it can be actually be thrown in the plastic trash, so no issues. The tubes are not that expensive. It's like maybe 2.5 euros, 3 euros for a 75 millimeter tube. It's like a little smaller than a toothpaste tube. The white paint, for example, we used it on 3 canvases. So those were 6 coats, right? On the MDF, it was 3 coats. And I used 1.5 tubes for all that. So 1.5 tubes for what? 9 coats of paint, right? Not bad. So those are the pros. For the hands, the cons, the inconsistent results. Just you gotta keep testing, and it takes forever. And I think you have to test every time. I mean, if you're doing batches, in the same batch, you might be all right. But you gotta test. Because it's hard to keep an even surface. Is the surface is rough in the end too. I don't know if you like that. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea or cup of coffee, as they say here. Of course, you got a little bit of cleanup to handle, and tools. You got to get a roller. You got to get a brush. You got to clean that up. You got to store it. Yeah. So that's about it that come to mind. What questions? Let's take a look at the questions here on the chat. Yes, mistakes happen. Yeah, and this one's they accumulated. I was super. I don't know what it was. I was just not there. I was not able to focus. It was pretty late. It was 11 p.m. or midnight when I was doing the stuff. Just forgetting that invert setting. That was incredible. I say that in every video. You got to remember to do this stuff. Then the grayscale. I forgot to change the bitmap mode from grayscale to Bayer, so that was a mess. So that created this mess. I wish I could say it was done on purpose, but the top one is Bayer, the bottom one, rather the top one is grayscale, the bottom one is Bayer. Right? When you ask me, hey, so what is the difference? Well, here's the difference. So almost halfway, I noticed my mistake, and I didn't want to waste the canvas, so I figured I'll use it as a test and did it that way. We got a question here. Would it be an option to water down the paint to layer it consistently? See, I do that when I use my sprayer for, around the house when I need to do something or bigger furniture. I would assume so that should work. But again, I don't know if I'd go through that kind of trouble. But again, if we're going through this trouble, it's because we need it. So yeah, that's a good question. I would love to know. Maybe you could try it. Let us know. Share the tips. Share the mistakes. The quick tips for people not confident with a brush. So patience. Arm yourself with a ton of patience. It will require it. If you keep at it, it will work. I guarantee you, it will work. I'm very satisfied with what we came up with. I'm very happy with it. Don't get disappointed the first time around. Keep on trying. I kept walking around the garage, coming in, coming out, trying to kind of forget what I was doing and thinking, why am I doing this to myself? Just don't get disappointed. Keep at it. Buy extras of everything. Extra brushes, extra foams, roller, extra canvases, extra paint. You'll use it. Believe me, you will use it. Buy quality materials. That foam roller that we had, that we purchased, that was one of the cheapest, and it showed when you rolled it. It completely showed. So buy good quality materials. You know what? The tip that I share in the video: store the roller or the brush, place it inside a bag. As soon as you're done, place it inside the bag, tie that bag nicely, bring it to the fridge. Keep it in the fridge, not the freezer. Keep it in the fridge. It will stay fresh until next time you use it. I kept it like 2 days and no problem. The only catch is that you gotta let it sit so it gets back to room temp for a little bit, 10, 15, 20 minutes or so before you use it. But that works fantastically. I cannot tell you how happy I am that I found that little tip somewhere. So I'm passing it on there so you guys don't waste rollers or brushes. Once you're done, wash that roller or that brush with just soap and warm water. No problems. We have had no problems. It came out really, really clean. Just gotta, just squeeze it, run it through the water a couple of times, and let it sit before you store it. Let it sit there for 2 days before you store it, and it's gonna be super nice. For brushes, just make sure that you hang them so that those brushes don't get messed up too badly. Wait 3-4 days for the paint to cure. If you're doing it by hand, wait. You have to wait those 3-4 days. You have to wait those 3-4 days. I keep looking at Mrs. Claus here. Let me just bring her back because I keep smiling over there. It just looks weird that I'm smiling to myself, but there she is smiling back. Listen, don't work late at night. That's gonna kill you. It's gonna stress you. It's gonna mess you up. Get up early. Do it early. At night, we're tired. What time is it now? It's like almost 11 o'clock at night right now, and yeah, that I start to struggle. So don't work late at night, and start with black and white pictures first, so that you if you make mistakes, they're not so difficult to kind of deal with. It's only, a couple of layers of paint. The pictures are easy to find. Black and white is just the easiest approach. I insist, go for black and white. How was that experience there looking for pictures too? I mean, pretty straightforward.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. There was a lot of things. I got lost in some needlework things and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, it's very, very useful.
Yeah, yeah. I really like it there. Creative Fabrica. I know that I keep pushing it, but I tell you, it works. I was buying stuff from Etsy once and twosies, and then just add up pretty quickly. I got me a subscription with Creative Fabrica, and like you said, it's just so easy to get lost. So easy to get lost, and you want to make everything, and you want to try everything. Another tip is to start with low power and high speed. I mentioned that before. That's the way to do it. Just start slow, rather in low power and with high speeds. That's the kicker. Test your settings just using smaller pictures. It will give you a better idea what you're dealing with. So use XCS or use Lightburn. I know some people have used like stars and little circles or whatever, but it's just, just use small versions of your pictures. Yes, it takes a little while, but you're going to know exactly how things turn out. And again, that top coat, use that top coat when you're done so that it doesn't ruin your pictures don't get ruined by you mostly. Then I would recommend you to share your stuff online, share your creations online, go to Facebook. People are so nice. You know how many nice comments I've been getting from people that I've never met, people that I never heard of, and they're so kind. And, it's the reason why we do it. So, and of course, post your mistakes so others can learn just just like I did. Yeah, it's just crazy, unbelievable how people are so nice, so fantastic. So I'm getting emotional. I feel right. The next question. What do we have?
If you can say if it's beginner friendly or advanced.
Yes, right.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't believe this is beginner friendly. I think you have to know your machine. You have had to make a lot of mistakes. Yeah, is probably perhaps you don't need to be an expert, but you can. Well, maybe that needle is a little wrong there, but you definitely have to have some time with your laser. The process will test you a lot, and if you are a new person to this, you still don't know that this is just the name of the game. You're gonna give up, and then you're gonna be posting your laser for sale. So I think you have to have some miles before you try this. You have to understand your machine, your settings, its capabilities. So yeah, I think you need some time. You need some time to try this. So yeah, you got to have some hours to do this. Yeah. Let's check the questions. See if we have any questions. I use HVLP for applying finish coats on projects. Healthier and cheaper. Water-based varnish can be used just like a spray can. Yes, I've been trying to convince the accounting department here to approve that expense. I've seen some guns that are pretty cheap. I've seen some guns in Amazon that go for like 50, $60. Well, aside from that, I guess I will need to upgrade a couple of things. I think I might need to upgrade to a big boy compressor. And good morning from New Zealand, Mr. Danger himself. Thank you so much for joining. I know it's really early over there. I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you for making the trip, and of course, thank you for being here, having us spend some of your time. Pleasure to have you. Which page do you most generally post on? I tend to go to the Xtool S1 group or the Xtool, the general Xtool group. There are other ones for laser engravings for beginners that I do post a lot. But for the most part, I get a lot more traction from folks in those Xtool related groups, posting on my own page, and I'm posting on those groups, right? If you have health issues, if your house doesn't allow, the space is not there, or you cannot just get those fumes out, this process is a great way of doing things. It will test you. As I said, I was testing on MDF. This one here, I don't know if you can see the yellowish tint there, um, but that's actually the raw MDF. I burned right through that with the same settings that I use. I cannot explain how that happened, but it happened. And just you gotta keep trying, keep testing. It will take. It took us how long total from when we first started to the day I actually finished engraving?
Probably 5 days,
5 days.
5, 6 days, maybe.
I think you can easily do it in 2.5 days, but then you still have to let that paint cure for 3 to 4 days anyway. So very doable. I would love you guys to try it. And if you have any questions about this, just hit me up. Like I said, I'm in different groups. I posted in these groups announcing the video. I'm posting my pictures. I'm posting my mistakes. And I really hope that this gave you a clear purpose, a clear understanding of what you got into, a clearer picture of what's possible, the ups and downs. I never hesitate to show you my mistakes simply because I feel like I learn a lot from that. Also, people have been amazing. And of course, my wife's been more than amazing, just making time and keeping up with everything she's got to keep up with, and then still making time. So, like I said, this series of behind the engravings is something I want to continue to put together after I release a video, just to kind of get a little more detail. Sometimes a 10-15 minute video, a tutorial type of thing. I'd rather be straight to the point, show you what it needs to be done, show you the mistakes. I could talk for hours about engravings. So this backup type of companion videos, I think it gives you an opportunity to kind of get a bit more understanding of what it's like to get some of the stuff done, because a lot of people just don't know that the amount of work that it takes to get them done. And it's a fantastic hobby, don't get me wrong, but you have to know what you're getting into. So hopefully I inspire you to try something new. If you haven't already, please go check out that video. It's live on YouTube right now. It's 15 minutes, and it's right there in the channel, just waiting for you to kind of check out the full process from start to finish. And if you have enjoyed, of course, this live stream, make sure you like it and please subscribe. Also, that helps out a lot. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks again for hanging out. Again, Miss Spills, thank you so much for your time. You're a fantastic co-host. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you to my viewers, my supporters, and you guys have a fantastic evening. Take care. So long.